Buying versus building. So the age-old question of should you buy a home service industry or should you build one? What this comes down to at the end of the day, really, in my mind, is it's a risk tolerance question. So we'll go through a few of the benefits and the cons of buying and building, and then I'll tell you why I bought a business versus built. So buying has its benefits, right? You're buying an established business day one. It's generating revenue. This is wonderful because you can start paying off the loan. You can start, I call it, we had an SBA loan, but it is my forced savings account. You can start moving the needle day one, though, which is a huge benefit. There's already systems in place. Most of the time they have SOP and sometimes even management. So you can come in and do what you do best as a specialist in finance or a specialist in whatever, CPA or legal or whatever, wherever your specialty lies, you can focus on that and being a GM or a CEO. Some other benefits to buying the business is if you continually want to buy more businesses after, you get the perk of using an SBA 7A of not having to pay anything down on your second one. That matches the same NAICS code. Some of the cons are pretty much the opposite of the benefits, is not the systems you want, right? The systems are old, antiquated. Maybe they're still using a fax machine. It is what it is. And so you have to not only break those systems and change them, you still have to do what you were going to do when you built them. It's like, hey, I got to build this. But you have hopefully the revenue generation from day one to kind of back that up. The culture or the company PR, right? You are not in control of what the old owner did. And so, we had it at our company and we've had it with every company we've purchased after, is the big issue becomes, hey, this person did something bad. You, as the new owner, have to deal with that reputation burden of saying, well, hey, we are not them. We are trying to put better systems in place, but generally what I have found is once you burn a customer, and it goes across all three trades, HVAC, plumbing, electrical, you burn them in electrical, you're never seeing them again for plumbing or HVAC. You burn them in HVAC, you're never getting them for plumbing and electrical. They never come back. And so burn too many of them, and you have a serious PR issue on your hands. People quit. So you may have great management structure in place when you bought it, but day one, you could have what happened to me and have your lead installers, your lead service techs, your management, they could all just say, we're out of here. Especially in today's market, it's not very owner positive, I guess. It's in favor of people who are working in the trades because there's not very many of them. They have the power in a lot of instances, and so they can just up and leave. And then that puts you in a very difficult spot of either not taking on business or you become the tech or the manager or whatever. And then lastly is attrition. So when you buy a company, there's natural attrition, no matter what. I don't care how great you are at change management, there's going to be a little bit of natural attrition just because somebody was using the old owner because he was friends with them. And now you're in place, and hopefully it's a single person or a couple people, but what you're wanting to watch out for is the attrition of large companies. So say you run an HVAC company and the owner was really good friends with a construction company, and now that the old owner's not working there anymore, the construction company that took up 10% of your revenue is now saying, we're out of here. Like we were friends with that guy, we're not friends with you. And we have lots more friends in the industry because we're in the industry and you're not. So you find that happens. It's just managing that as best you can to continue moving on, but that is the risk. So the risk on this is you're paying for something and you're taking on debt, or you're shelling out, money for something that's not going to return enough to cover its own debts. And so that's the risk, and that's what you should be mitigating right out the gate in due diligence, but that's buying a company. On the other hand, you have building. Building is great. All the other issues that I said in the cons are not there. You build your own systems. You don't have the revenue to do it necessarily, at least, or I should say, you don't have the revenue to do it, but they are your own systems. So you can go as cheap or as expensive as you want. You manage your own labor market and your own hires. So now they're your hires, not the old owner's hires. So there's less risk of them quitting. And if they do, it's because of you and you know why, but they're not going to quit just because change. So you're managing those labor market and hires. You're also managing your own time and culture. So there's something that we talk about very little in industry, is that when you buy a business, there is a culture attached to that. And there's an ownership culture attached to that. So a lot of times we see the old owners, they're hardworking, they're the first ones in, last ones out, 60-hour weeks, 90-hour weeks, 120-hour weeks, whatever. And that's the expected culture by the employees. And so when you're building, you get to set that. I, as the owner, only work 30 hours a week. And then you hire people who know you only work 30 hours a week, and they're either fine with that and they stay, or they quit and they leave. So you get to build that culture. You get to decide what that is without huge costs and change. The cons is, and really the one big con to building is, it is a grind. Absolute grind to get to $1 million. I'm not going to say it's difficult, but it is time intensive. It is extremely time intensive to get to $1 million from zero, because you're building everything from scratch. You're making all the relationships that you need to put in place for your business to run. And that is extremely time intensive, and it is grinding. As you start to, if you were to buy instead of grind that out, you get to, one, buy through those plateaus, but two, you're essentially buying those systems, those relationships, so you don't have to rebuild them idealistically, and then that becomes less of a grind because you have compounding effects. And so your HR can do HR tasks, and your media can do media tasks, and you're not the one doing HR, media, et cetera, et cetera. And so what I will say is, depending on your market, the building is still a possibility. Is it the best one? It comes down to what you believe in and your market, but it also comes down to, I think, a big portion of this is the market. So what is one of the bigger cons, or why you wouldn't buy? Well, a big con and why you wouldn't buy is interest. So what is the value of money, and how are you going to pay off that debt? That debt is at a very high interest rate, and as the Fed raises interest rates, the debt rises if it's not fixed interest. So it's making sure you understand a few of these factors into why you would buy or build. I personally bought because I had a lot of runway. I sold my last business that I did build, and then I had enough runway to buy, and I said, hey, I don't want to do the grind again. It's a grind. I have 3 kids. I don't want to grind. And so I decided I'm going to buy my way through. But being who I am, I bought on the lower end, a sub $1 million company. So I still had to grind to get to the $2 million. And then I decided, hey, I'm going to buy through these issues. So we bought again through the $3 million plateau. And so it's kind of a mix. I don't think you're going to be able to only buy or only grind. I mean, I'm sure you could only grind, but only buy doesn't work in the way that I think a lot of people hope it would. They're still kind of combining businesses, and buying is a big task. So good luck to whatever your journey is. If you have any questions, feel free to DM me at the HVAC Jack on X or Twitter, whatever you call it. Appreciate it, guys.